Air shows are intended to provide a fun time for the entire family. Unfortunately, there have been hundreds of accidents at air shows over the past century. Most accidents result in injury or death to the airplane crew. However, some of the worst airshow disasters resulted in the deaths of the spectators. In this video, we will count down the top 10 times airshows went terribly wrong. Number 10. Sknyliv Airshow Disaster in Ukraine. The Sknyliv Airshow was held on July 27, 2002, near Lviv, Ukraine. A Sukhoi Su-27 piloted by a member of the Ukrainian Air Force crashed during an aerobatic stunt. 77 people were killed and 543 were injured, making it the deadliest airshow accident in history. 10,000 spectators attended the event. The plane was performing a rolling maneuver at a low altitude when it struck the ground. The crew ejected from the plane as it skidded towards stationary aircraft. The aircraft hit several other planes and began cartwheeling into the crowd of spectators. As the aircraft cartwheeled, it exploded. Both pilots survived, but 77 spectators were killed, including 28 children. The pilots and several officials were jailed and fined for the disaster. Number 9. Ramstein Airshow Disaster in Germany. The Ramstein Airshow disaster is the second worst airshow disaster in history. It occurred on August 28, 1988 during an airshow at the United States Ramstein Air Base in West Germany. 3 airplanes from the Italian Air Force display team collided and crashed to the ground. The planes hit the runway and created a fireball that tumbled into the spectators. Additional debris hit an emergency medical evacuation helicopter. 3 pilots and 67 spectators died from the crash. An additional 356 spectators suffered severe injuries and hundreds more sustained minor injuries. Close to 500 people had to seek hospital treatment due to the event. So, have you ever been to an air show? Did you think of it as a risky venture? Would you still want to go to one of them after learning about these incidents? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. There are a lot of awesome videos coming out all the time. Number 8. Golden West Sport Aviation Show Disaster. During the Golden West Sport Aviation Show, 22 people were killed when a plane failed to take off a runway. The event was held in Sacramento, California on September 24, 1972. A pilot flying a Canadair Sabre Mark V did not gain enough altitude and flew through a chain-link fence near the end of the runway. The plane was traveling at speeds of 240 km per hour when it crossed the road behind the runway and hit an ice cream parlor. The plane exploded, killing 22 people and injuring 28, including members of a Little League football team who were celebrating at the ice cream parlor. The pilot suffered a broken arm and leg. Number 7. 2011 National Championship Air Races Disaster. At the 2011 National Championship Air Races, 11 people died and 69 were injured. The event was the third deadliest air show in U.S. history. A pilot crashed a modified North American P-51D Mustang racing aircraft. The airplane was flying in the race and was in the third place when it suddenly pitched, rolled, and nosedived. The aircraft hit the ground at speeds of over 400 miles per hour. It crashed in front of the grass stands, instantly killing the pilot. Along with the pilot, 7 people died at the crash site. 4 additional people died later in the hospital. This was one of several accidents involving modified Mustang aircraft. However, earlier incidents did not result in spectator fatalities. Number 6. Ostend Airshow Disaster. During the Ostend Airshow in Ostend, Belgium, spectators were injured and killed when a plane crashed near a Red Cross tent and the spectator stands. The event was held on July 26, 1997, and included a variety of planes. One of the teams flying during the event was the Royal Jordanian Falcons. The Falcons are part of the Jordanian Air Force. A plane piloted by Captain Omar Hani Bilal lost control during the event. The pilot was flying a Walter Extra EA-300S. The plane crashed at the end of the runway, killing the pilot and 8 spectators. After the plane crashed, it burst into flames. An additional 40 people on the ground suffered various injuries due to the crash and explosion. Number 5. Paris Air Show Disaster. The Paris Air Show in 1973 was the site of a disaster that resulted in 14 deaths. A Russian supersonic airliner disintegrated in midair during a basic flight demonstration. The plane was the first production Tupolev Tu-144 and was piloted by a Russian crew. A variety of factors are believed to have contributed to the disaster. An investigation blamed pilot error, mechanical failure, and interference by a French airplane that was sent to photograph the Tu-144. The pilot and all 5 crew members were killed when the plane disintegrated and crashed to the ground. The resulting crash killed an additional 8 people on the ground. Number 4. Canary Islands Airshow. A pilot and 4 spectators died at the Canary Island Airshow on April 8, 1984. 6,000 spectators attended the event. The accident occurred at the Los Rodeos Airport, which was the site of an airplane accident 7 years earlier that killed 583 people. During the Canary Island Airshow, a member of Spain's national air acrobatics team lost control of his aircraft. The accident occurred shortly after takeoff. The aircraft soon went into a dive and crashed into the runway. The plane caught fire and bounced 100 yards along the tarmac before crashing into a wooden barrier and the crowd of spectators. The pilot died, along with 4 spectators. An additional 14 people were injured. Number 3. Airshow at RAF Zairston in 1958. The Royal Air Force Station in Zairston, Nottinghamshire, UK, was the site of an accident that killed 3 spectators and 4 members of the aircrew. A prototype Avro Vulcan bomber crashed during a test flight. The test flight was part of a military aviation airshow. The Vulcan had 4 members on board. When the plane attempted to climb from the runway, the starboard wing disintegrated, resulting in the wing structure collapsing. The aircraft went into a dive. When the aircraft struck the ground, all crew members died, along with 3 members of a caravan that were monitoring the test flight. 3 servicemen in a nearby ambulance were also injured. Number 2. Bartlesville Biplane Exposition. 4 pilots died during the Bartlesville Biplane Exposition in 1996. The event was held on June 2nd in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and featured biplanes performing various aerobatics. 2 of the biplanes clipped wings as they were attempting to land. Witnesses told investigators that one plane began banking to prepare for the return to the airport when the second plane struck it from the rear. As the wings clipped each other, they were torn from the planes. A large explosion occurred. Both pilots and passengers died instantly from the blast. Number 1. Indian Air Force Day Disaster. 2 people died and a dozen were injured on Indian Air Force Day in New Delhi, India. The accident occurred on October 8, 1989. Wing Commander Ramesh Bakshi of the Indian Air Force was piloting a Mirage 2000 when he crashed. He was attempting to perform a maneuver called the Downward Charlie. The maneuver involves a series of downward rolls before pulling out the wings at a low altitude. As the pilot performed the maneuver, he crashed into the ground. 12 spectators were injured from the subsequent fire and explosions. 1 spectator and the pilot died as the result of their injuries. Thanks for watching. Can you believe some of these things happened? Would you still want to go to an air show after learning about these 10 incidents? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. I will see you next time on the channel.